So, Bodhi, I'd like you to put your toes right here for me. Yeah, just get your feet nice and parallel. That looks good. And you're going to bend your knees a little bit. Stay just like that. So this is the center of your overall knee mass. It's not just the center of like your kneecap or anything. It's the entire knee I'm looking at. Okay, go ahead and have a seat. Lift your feet up. Go ahead and stand in these trays. Slide right up front. And how does that width feel for your stance? Is that about right, or does it need to be narrower or wider?
For just normally standing?
For your normal skiing stance.
Like maybe a hair wider.
Okay, step out of just this one.
Depends on the boot, but I mean they have a little more room.
Okay, step back in. Okay, does that feel like a good width?
Yeah, that's better.
Okay, now I want you to just go ahead and flex your knees back and forth for me. Okay, so this knee looks pretty good. I want you kind of in the center of that medial half. This knee, you're pretty far outside. So what that's going to tell me is you're going to be riding your inside edge quite a bit.
Okay.
So if you're just gliding along, basically you're going to be on this inside edge there. We want you on two flat edges, or two flat skis, I'm sorry. And I'm going to guess that's going to be maybe 1.5 degrees to 2 degrees. So I'm going to have you stand out of that one. And step back in. And go ahead and flex for me. Back and forth. So now you're tracking out and you finish pretty well. But you start out, when you're tall, you start out a little too inside. So that means the inside edge wouldn't engage when you're tall in the turn.
Okay.
As you flex forward, that dot gets pretty much right where I want it. So when you're in a slightly flexed position, you're in good shape. If we went with a little bit less, go ahead and step out of that one. Stand back in. And go ahead and flex. So that one you end up a little bit too far to the outside, but you start out tall. Good. So when you're here, initiating a turn might be okay if you initiate very tall, but as you increase your flexion, it's going to engage this inside edge more. But what we're going to do is we're going to find out what you like in a slightly flexed position. So go ahead and have a seat for a second. We'll get this out of the way. That right knee still looks good through all that. Now I'm going to have you stand on this. And I just want you to get on two flat soles. So in other words, like you're on the outside of the sole here, inside of the sole here. I want you to just get on two flat soles so it feels solid there. And it should feel like this knee is just a little bit outside.
Yeah.
Does it feel that way? Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to play around with this 1.5 degrees and the degree shim.
Okay.
And just have you stand on it and see what you think. So roll your, yep, okay, do that, stand on that. And then just put that where you, let it put you where it puts you. And just relax and flex forward a little bit in the boot and tell me how that feels. Does that feel balanced to you? Does it feel like you're too far inside? If you don't tell a difference, we'll try this one and see if you notice a difference.
Yeah, let's try the one.
So when you're balanced, it's just going to feel like a natural stance. That's all we're looking for, is just something that feels like you're just naturally standing the way you would normally stand.
Right.
Some things that happen, like if we take this away and you go ahead and stand on it, you might feel that your thigh tightens up a little bit, because basically you're trying to fight that stance you're in. And what we're trying to do is figure out where you are most balanced and relaxed and comfortable. So we'll try that one, then we'll try this one again.
last one, the 1.5?
It is, yes.
Yeah, that one's definitely, I think, the best.
It feels most natural.
Yeah.
And that's what we saw here too. You know, when you were tall, you were a little inside, but as soon as you started flexing, you were right where that needed to be. So what we want to do is put a 1.5 degree shim on this boot with the thick side on the outside, and that's just going to put a little bit more pressure on the outside edge. So you'll distribute that pressure more evenly.
Yeah.
All right. So most people can feel that. Not everybody can feel it, but most people can. I do like to defer to whatever they feel, and he just happened to this time agree that the 1.5 that I thought worked well felt better for him. But if he felt the 1 was better, I would default to that. I always want to key in on whatever the skier feels. And then he only needed correction on one boot. And I think it's important to say we're not changing anything about Bodie. We're changing the way the boot relates to the ski, which in turn affects the ski's relationship to the snow. So it's not like we're going to start bending body parts anywhere. We're just really making sure the two skis are flat on the snow. Sometimes we find both boots need to be canted. Sometimes we find you need to go one direction. Everybody's different. But this is going to ensure that Bodie's a nice balanced skier.
Once more, we see a skier readily feel the difference that a 0.5 degree of correction makes. Remember, that's 24 thousandths of an inch in elevation on one side of the boot sole and less than 0.2 of an inch of lateral movement at the knee. There's more to come from Park City as the quest for perfect stance continues.